Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Finance Committee. It's March 5th, 2026. I have exactly 4 o'clock. This meeting will be video recorded and broadcast over local access channel 8 and through the town website at www.eastham-ma.gov. And I'm proceeding with the agenda. Item number 2, public comment. Items not on the agenda. I have one comment, and I'd just like to thank Mira for all the work that she did for us while she was here. Last Friday was her last day, and obviously we would have seen her on Thursday if we'd had our meeting. And obviously we didn't have the meeting, so we didn't have a chance to thank her. So just publicly, I'd like to thank her on behalf of the Finance Committee for her work for our committee.
Mary Postwood, hand raised.
Oh,
yeah, real quick. Rich, thank you for the 2 reports you sent out from the Municipal Association. Can we put them up on the website? And I don't know if we have people's emails, but I think the first one, the perfect storm one, would be lovely to get out to people before the meeting so we're not tarred and feathered.
Okay. Yeah, I am working on a town meeting site, and so I'll put all the relevant budget information on that page as well.
Terrific. Thank you.
any other comments, questions? We do have, just want to say we have 4 members Zooming today: Paul, Roy, Steve, and Kate. On to the next item on the agenda, the minutes of February 19th, 2026. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of February 19th, 2026?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
That's Roy.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Patty? Is there any further discussion on the minutes of February 19th? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Roy, Paul, Steve. Kate, are you? Okay, thank you. 8-0. Now, are we to?
Actually, it's going faster than I thought, so why don't we keep rolling, I guess.
Okay. We have some issues.
We have some Zoom issues, but we're gonna keep going until at least 4:45. We might need to reconvene in a different code. But since we're on a roll, if we go into the departmental budget reviews, Christine has someone call out sick, so she can't be here until later. She might show up later.
Okay.
But we'll start with Melanie, who's from the library. Come on up. Yeah. No, we'll bring it up on the screen.
Okay. I just want to make sure everybody has the documents because Rich sent out additional, or I should say, the documents replacing earlier ones. Let's see. I have on the newer ones, I have page 12, 13, and 14. Is that what?
Sounds right.
Is that right for everybody?
For the library.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I did mention to everybody to be brief because we have an extra doubled up agenda missing last week, so they're just gonna go over some of their programs that they run and not go into the line items too much unless you have specific questions. So.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So I'm just going to talk pretty high level about the library budget. Our largest line item here in the library budget is the provision for books and circulating materials. For FY 27, we have a proposed ask of $125,000, and that increase from last year is per the state requirement for how we have to increase our materials expenditure every year for circulating materials that we provide for the public. And that includes your traditional books, things like DVDs, video games. It also includes digital materials, including our ebooks, e-audiobooks, databases, and also a certain amount of physical technology that we might provide to the public as well for their general use. So that is the main budget line item for public services provided by the library. The other item I want to point out to you that is also a major point of public use or involves a lot of public use is under our professional and technical line. That's where you see our softwares and licensing agreements. We use that line to fund the public computer management software. So we have a system in place that allows for the public to access the internet. And when they finish their session on the internet, they're able to close out of that, and it removes any cookies or personal material or documents they might have downloaded during their session. So it helps maintain patron privacy and helps with staff maintenance of those public services. The other two elements on here are our public calendar and space management system. The usage of library space is one of the biggest services that we offer beyond our traditional programs and circulating materials. So this software is really paramount to us being able to manage that service. The last and largest item under this budget line is our claims membership fee. So that goes to our central networking fees and the software that we use to manage our patron records, circulation records, and overall bibliographic records for the materials that we circulate to the public. Does anyone have any questions about any of the? Yes.
I have it up on the staffing page. Can
Mhm.
you talk to us about what this staffing and the temporary part-time hours that you have does as far as the ability to be open, the number of days and hours?
Yeah, absolutely. So in prior years, the library had traditionally been open 5 days a week, and in recent years, we've been able to add some part-timers to our staff, and we've been able to open for a 6th day. So now we're open on Mondays, but it also allows us to cover additional service points so we can offer many more programs on other days that we've been open as well due to the increase in staffing there.
What are the hours on those 6 days?
So on Monday, we are 12 to 4, on Tuesday, 10 to 8, Wednesday, 10 to 4, Thursday, 10 to 8, and Friday and Saturday, 10 to 4. So that's 42 hours a week.
What is the amount that we need to receive our state aid this year? You were earlier talking about the 125, which went up from 118. Do you know what is the amount that we should be spending that we get additional help with from the Friends?
That I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but I think, so let's see, it was about 90% of what we needed,
The
the
125.
125.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'd be getting the 10%.
From the Friends.
Is about 10% from the Friends.
Yes, so I don't have an exact number, but
Yeah,
that's.
We've been making progress on that percentage each year, and that's.
Oh, I know, I appreciate
And where
it.
did we start? I first got here 6-7 years
It's
ago.
like 85.
A couple years ago, we added 20,000.
Yeah, so it's we've spoken about this, how it's a problem that can't just be solved in one fell swoop, because the increase that we are required to add each year is based on the average of the last 3 years. So every time you increase your budget,
It increases the amount that you need
Yeah,
to
so
spend.
we want to be careful in how we work towards accomplishing this goal, so that we're not kind of biting off more than we can chew.
Because the state requires you to increase your budget by a certain percentage. or-
Yeah, the formula is, it requires you to increase your budget for circulating materials by 2.5% of the average of what you have actually been given from your town the last 3 years.
Of the overall library budget.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
3-year average. of it.
And as Melanie says, every time we increase our budget, since we're based on an average of 3 years, it then increases, although because the size of the town is larger than it used to be 19.5%, now it's 19%.
It's helped, yeah. Yeah, and I'd be happy to answer more, if you want to see what that formula looks like, break it down or anything.
Is has the vacant position been filled yet?
Yes, yes, it has. Yeah, we have a new youth services assistant and, in our library, Megan, Busquet, and she's doing great.
She's been with us for a while.
3 months now, yeah, I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
got my, little reminder on my calendar.
Yeah. Are there any questions from the folks that are zooming? Roy?
Yes, and this is a basic question, obviously. All your staff are part-time? When I say part-time, 0.88, pretty much.
Yeah, full-time in a lot of the community services department is 35 hours a week, and a full-time member might be considered 40 hours a week, so that's where the 0.88 comes from.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for purposes of the town, we consider it a full-time equivalent 40. But a lot of departments have 35 hour, which also qualifies for full-time.
You see a lot of people at 0.88. Yeah. Do the floaters get any benefits?
No, they don't.
Are there any other questions from folks here or folks zooming?
No,
Other than Fleet doing,
We're holding steady right now, so, we're looking forward to hopefully getting the funding at our town meeting so we can get the final fix and make everything up.
So we do have in the warrant articles that you see under other budget items, free cash ask for hopefully a final one-time fix to avoid the multi-million-dollar fix.
right? Fingers crossed.
Quick comment, you do a wonderful job with the collection here, and I'm in this system, the Minuteman system, the BPL. The just availability and breadth of the materials here is as good as either of the other two, and if anything, I've looked for, so
Thank you so much.
You don't need to, you don't need to use these today because we're using the owl.
Okay.
Yeah, just so you know. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Thank you very much.
Got Dorothy here for the Council on Aging.
Yeah, so we see the Council on Aging is.
This read. And I should say, every time we've met on different departments, I've let you know where we've had some requests and didn't add them into the budget.
Oh, yeah.
I don't believe I've had much, if anything, from Melanie. Dorothy did request additional funding for the hybrid programming position, which is currently being paid through a grant or the gifts. And also an additional program / transportation person, which is also being paid through a grant or through a gift. Right now, neither of those, because of our position, relative to the budget, have been included. However, I do have some, when we get to a budget update, we might offer that up as an alternative to an additional override that I'm going to present to the Finance Committee and the Select Board to fund those optional. And that notwithstanding, you notice that there's also money in the other budget items, Article 4, out of free cash, that would at least get us another year. Without having it in the budget.
The grants are,
Well, the grants could come through again, but it gives us the time to at least figure out what we need to do next, so.
Yeah.
Then I'll turn it over to Dorothy and stuff.
Okay, thanks so much. So I'll kind of just run through the bigger ticket items as well. We have the vehicle maintenance, which covers our transportation. We did over 2,300 round trip rides last year, which includes, a lot of medical appointments, grocery stores, pharmacies, all the essential services. And we also have, for our communication, that's probably the biggest, one of the bigger expenses. And I'm sure you guys have all seen this, but I did bring a copy for everybody. So this is our newsletter. This is our main
Yeah,
form
I
of
have one.
outreach and communication. That's our main source of communication and outreach. We sent this out to 3,000 of our members. We do a mail. People love the mailer. I mean, they come in asking and looking for it, so I think it's really important. We also do constant contact, email blasts and marketing. So we do digital as well as a hard copy, but this is extremely important. people love the calendar, they pull it out and they utilize it all the time. Yes.
Go ahead.
Can you explain why it costs $18,000? How do you do
Oh,
this and all that?
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, so a breakdown is we outsource this to a printing house, and they print it. They hand deliver it to the post office in Orleans. And it's all full color, so they do the printing, the distribution, and we also have to pay for the mailing, so it's also part of the mailing cost.
Do they do the formatting? I mean, you have to come up with the content and do they put it all
So
together?
I actually, we're pretty lucky. We have a volunteer who actually does lay it out. So we have a volunteer graphic designer. So I provide all the content and she puts it together, with all the artwork and everything. So it's really just the print house, mailing, fulfillment, and the postage cost. That's what we're paying.
And right now, and I'm not sure for how long, you do it every 2 months. Have you ever
Yeah, it's
considered doing it every 3 months? Save some money?
I think that it's better suited 2 months. I think when you're stretching out to 3 months, it gets a little overwhelming. I think people are overwhelmed with kind of all the things that are happening now. For me, content wise as well, I think I mean, I am planning that far in advance. But this works really well and it works very well for, an 8-week series, for example, or something like that. So this works pretty well for us.
I think that's pretty consistent. with
Yeah.
Most.
Most do bi-monthly, some actually do monthly, believe it or not, which,
I'm sure it does.
and pretty much, I kind of just get this out the door and I'm turning around.
And working on the next one.
Yeah, so I think 2 months really works very well for us, and I think it's not overwhelming for people to, kind of plan that far in advance, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, I just find myself every
Yeah.
8 weeks calling to say I want to sign up for the next 2 weeks.
Right.
In the next 2 months.
Right, I see what you're saying. Also, part of it is we want to give everybody a fair shake. So we do make people register again for a program because everyone should get the opportunity. Because as you know, most of the programs are funded by the Friends. So there is no cost to our seniors or a minimal cost to our seniors. So we want to make sure everybody kind of gets a fair shake at everything. So we do also limit when you can register. So you can't register until, the following month for that program. We can't kind of do 2 or 3 months in advance just because we want everybody to get a chance.
I just want to say before you go on to whatever you're going to discuss next, that I think between you and Melanie and the library, I think you've done a very good job of putting together programs.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate that.
Because I've been attending ones at the Council on Aging and I've been attending ones at the library.
Thank you.
And they've been
much.
very well attended.
Thank
And
you.
I think everybody's appreciating the fact that you're using both venues for the programs.
Yeah, the library's been great. Thank you, Melanie, in providing sort of our annex. We're doing some more exercise programs over there. So it's working really well because we've kind of maxed out our space with the amount of programs that we're running. So this allows us also to find a different demographic that may not make it, make their way over to the COA. So it's been working out really well. So thank you for acknowledging that. Appreciate it. Does anyone have any other questions on the newsletter? No.
Can you talk about the landscape contract?
Sure.
Let's do that.
Yep, so it's next on the list. So our property isn't just a simple mow. I don't know if you've all been there, but it takes a lot to clean up and maintain that property. So I was able to find a landscape company who does Truro and a couple other towns as well. And they've been doing a great job for us, so I wanted to build that in to our budget this year.
And it's also not just, like you said, a simple mow, you have some specialty plantings,
Yes.
trees.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
DPW, and DPW
See,
certainly,
that's what I was,
DPW certainly could
why
mow,
can't DPW do some of that work? Yeah.
but Dorothy can explain there's some specialty items.
Yeah, there's some plantings and different things that really aren't suited for just DPW to maintain and take care of. So the landscape company is able to do that. We always have had a landscaper in the past. They had retired. So we were, able to find someone new to do it for us.
And I think I recall when I first got here several years ago, that was in the budget at that time.
It was in the budget.
And then we
at
took
some
it out
point.
because they retired.
Right,
This
right.
is an example of, we get things in the budget.
Mm.
And so when you're cutting things or reducing things,
Then you have to add it.
then you find out
if
you gotta add
don't
it back
keep it.
later. So that goes to my comment that was in my thing is,
Yeah,
we don't like to necessarily cut things. Every line item's in here for a reason, so we
Yeah,
gotta be intentional when we cut or reduce things out of the budget.
Mhm.
Then it comes back to haunt you a couple years later.
Well, the note said that the Friends took care of it for a while, or?
They did take over for a bit as well, but they're doing a lot of other things now, including all the programming as well as they gifted one of the positions this year, so there's been some other line items that they've been doing, so it makes a big difference. It got a little kind of crazy over there. The grounds really needed some cleaning up and maintaining. And especially after last week, even more so now, everything, so it's very needed.
Did you lose any trees in?
No, I don't think we did there, actually, just some sticks and some branches down, but nothing major, fortunately.
we lost a big tree in the front of, along the road there, I know that.
The library? Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. And then that's.
Oh, yeah, it was in the wires there for a day or two.
Yeah, they cleaned it up, this afternoon.
Yes,
I have some questions about the whole ADA issues.
Mhm.
And I'm very concerned about the fact that we don't have some things that I think the Council on Aging should have. Unfortunately, I know a lot of folks, and I know you know them too, that have mobility problems.
Sure.
And they use walkers and what have you. And, the bathrooms don't have the ability to open the door to even leave the bathroom. The lower level, which I think would be a good place for some people to park, because they try to park
Right, there's no,
on the side, and
Right.
if you're a passenger, because you
Right.
can't drive,
right,
you can't even get out of the car.
right,
And there's lots of people that have needs, and they're
Mhm.
parked one after the other, and then other cars can't get around them to even get out.
right, yeah,
And I've seen somebody trying parking at the lower level, but there's no way with a walker, there's no way they can get in,
right.
because there's no way to
No
open the
buttons
door
or
from the
anything.
outside.
Yeah, it is a major concern. I know Rich and I, as well as the DPW, have been talking about all these things.
And the elevator is,
Yes,
is a
that's on
nightmare.
the list as well. So there's a lot of things that we kind of need to bring up
Yeah,
to code. We have to sort of chip away at them, because I think it's a certain percentage that you can only do at a time, or else you're kind of, required to do the full kit and caboodle, I believe, right?
Yeah, and you might recall when we went through the capital plan and the
yeah,
capital.
yeah,
The building needs.
I've looked at the capital plan to
Yeah.
see what we had
We
in
got a
there.
list of things, I believe the pavement, and is that on target for this spring?
Yeah,
So that's upper parking lot, the DPW thinks they can
Paved, yeah.
handle a lot of that, so we're gonna let them do that and then see what the next step on the paving and the sidewalks could be.
yeah.
I'm just saying that I.
Yeah, it's not
it-
ideal, I agree.
Considering the people that it's for,
Yeah, right,
the library is in better condition for people with mobility problems, and the Council on Aging, and the Council on Aging is for people
right,
that age.
right, yeah. Yeah, it's
And
very
and
interesting.
it's really, to me, it's frustrating.
Yeah, I wonder if, just temporarily, as a simple fix, we might be able to put some of the programming downstairs as opposed to upstairs,
Mhm.
kind of swapping out. I know a couple of groups that might work better for.
Mhm.
Something like that might be a possibility, but agreed, I mean, it's just
Yeah,
not ideal.
That's-
It is a tough place, and we've talked about, major renovations. We did the feasibility study,
Mhm.
not too many years ago.
right.
And I think we were looking, we were talking about TDEP. There's kind of a lot of things we've been discussing and talking about, in terms of, what future plans are for that building and.
Where are we with feedback?
Sorry to bring.
That's something.
Strategic plan.
Well, we've got a master plan
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the whole North Eastham what we call it, overlay district.
Yeah.
We are working on a RFP for the
Yeah.
first phase, a housing component.
Yeah.
That's gonna be pretty explicit of what the overall concept and vision is. So whatever is proposed fits within that, and that we're working on that now and hopefully, probably not before town meeting, because we got enough business ahead of us, but after town meeting, we will start rolling out, bring that to the select board and others, and kind of get the direction of how we want to finalize that RFP.
Yeah.
And what, timelines of issuing it and all that. But that would be for a housing component on tea time. Leaving space for a potential community center, because that was part of the strategic vision.
Right, right,
But, community center nowadays, is like everything, it's not
right.
a cheap, proposition. And so, we'll have to start. It's gonna be a multi-phase approach to redevelopment of
The
those sites.
community center might possibly include the senior center, or would it?
I think
Well,
that's
we'd have-
thoughts at one
We'd have to talk to the
point,
CO
yeah.
board
Yeah.
and Dorothy about that,
Yeah.
but typically when you're building a community center, it's housing your rec and your senior center.
Right.
Okay.
Putting them together, do potentially intergenerational programming, all that good stuff.
There are things we can do at the senior center on a bigger scope, right? But, as Rich referenced earlier in our capital, we are addressing a lot of these ADA components. It's just gonna take time to kind of chip away at each one.
That's also why
Money.
Yeah.
capital budget, I think it's listed as the annual amount for the senior center.
Right,
If everything were, current and just need to be maintained for the next 20 years. But we have other lines for supplemental amounts because we're not current and we're
Right.
trying to catch up on the paving and all that stuff.
Right.
So you see, they have pretty significant supplemental amounts this year and next year, I believe it is.
yeah, absolutely. So the thought is to chip away at some of these
Yeah.
things, is to make some gradual improvements to make it better, but I agree with you, I mean. But like I said, maybe it's shifting some of the programs, right, into the lower level where you can walk.
You'd have to fix the doorway going into the lower level
Yeah,
for ADA
Right.
needs.
right, exactly. I mean, maybe it's putting it's electric.
A button, yeah.
Yeah, the buttons.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's something that is definitely doable. Same thing in the bathrooms.
Mhm.
Maybe we could just get those buttons
Yeah.
installed. Cause they're heavy.
Oh, yeah, oh, I know,
To
I know.
kind of open. So maybe those are a few things, right, that we can kind of implement,
Mhm.
sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I would like to recommend that the three things that you just mentioned,
Yeah.
I think should be something that should be definitely looked into for
Yeah,
in the near future.
yeah. It's,
Now, you had originally said that you wanted two additional staff, of one hybrid and one transportation. And they're not in this budget.
so they're not in the budget line items,
Right.
because I think we're at a kind of a pause here, in terms of level funding.
Yeah.
So Rich had suggested, possibly, I think he's gonna talk to it later, about using free cash and doing it that way for the year. Right now, the first year we were able to do the grants. I got 2 grants. So the transportation is really, is a senior services coordinator is what we're calling it. They're focused on transportation, but it's sort of a bigger scope where they're helping people, rides to respite as well as to the senior center. We're providing meal, there's a whole lot more to it, than just a ride. So that's one position. And then, yes, continuing the, hybrid program position as well, which is also tech support. So we're helping people navigate all this telehealth, which is a huge, really, really important, one that we've been able to help
Good
people navigate
to start.
as well.
And I have another question. A number of years ago, you had the adult care program, which was held downstairs in the lower level.
Yeah,
And that went away. I'm not sure whether it went away because of COVID or it went away before
it
COVID.
did. It was due to COVID, and then we just never reopened it. So what we do is we actually have 2 things that we provide for our seniors to go to, as well as to provide respite. That's also part of the transportation services or the senior services coordinator We provide a ride on Fridays to the Alzheimer's Family Support Center. They have a program. So we provide a ride for our members to attend that and provide respite for their loved ones, caregivers, care partners. And then we also partner with Rock Harbor, which is the Orleans Senior Center, Social Adult Day Center. So we have an intermunicipal agreement with them where as an out-of-town resident, you pay an extra fee to attend. So the town is actually supplementing that, and we're using our human services COA gift account to supplement and offset that cost for our residents. So
How much does that cost?
it's $45 a day.
$45 a day, and it's
Yeah.
for a morning time period?
Yeah, I think it's from 9 to 2. So it's a pretty good day, you know, I think they get there, they have lunch and activities and programs. So it's very valuable to a lot of our residents. It gives them socialization, gives them an outlet, place to go. And most importantly, it provides respite, which a lot of these care partners really need for their day.
So is that, when you say it's 9 to 2, that's every day or?
They alternate days, so not everybody can go every day because there's such a need and a high demand. So people will go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, at least how they rotate. So they kind of rotate and try to give everybody.
And where do you get the money from? Or does the individual pay?
So the individual pays, but we offset the cost through our human services gift account or the COA. We talked about this
And
earlier.
how much is that? How much do you offset the cost by, or how does that work?
It's $15.
Off the 45?
Yeah.
And the
And
program,
I'm not sure if it's gonna go up yet. I haven't heard this year, but why don't I find out what it's gonna be this year, so then we can kind of have a real
okay, and it's full, I mean, I've heard that there are people on the waiting list.
they are. They're on the waiting list for there, and they're on the waiting list to attend on Friday as well. So it's a big challenge, I think.
When you say the Friday one, is that the one at the mall?
Yeah, that's the one at the mall.
Down at Hyannis?
Exactly, yeah.
The Alzheimer's.
Yeah, the Alzheimer's Family Support Center, they have a program there. So once a week, we bring them up to that program.
And what does that cost?
That's a free
Oh,
program.
that's free.
Yeah.
Just on Fridays,
Just
what I
on
understand.
Fridays, just on Fridays, yeah. They go up around 11, they have lunch, and then I
Mhm.
think it's a few hours, maybe till 3 or 7. So those are kind of the two that are available out this way. But there's definitely a big need for that.
Is the reason that there not enough space at the Council on Aging in Orleans because they don't have the staff or the space?
You have to have a ratio, it's just like.
Yeah, 1 to 10 or
like a
something?
daycare, you know, kids, you have to have, I think it's one to, I'd have to get back to you, I don't remember what it is anymore, but. We do have to have a certain amount of staff to the clients.
So the problem is they don't have the staff.
It's also not a big space.
Oh,
So it's full.
Yeah, so it's probably a combination of both. Possibly, but I know they are actively looking for another person to help out, so maybe they are trying to expand a little bit. But yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, but I guess more staffing than anything, because it's
The ratio requirements.
yeah.
Yeah. Do any of the folks on the Zoom have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Mary.
Roy?
Yes. One of your footnotes, you mentioned a hybrid program administrator back in fiscal year 2025. Is that position still there?
Yes, so that position originally was funded through a grant that we
Right.
obtained, and then we were able to obtain that position through our Friends group for this year. So the Friends are actually, gifting the money to pay for that position.
And that's the position that was asked for to be included in the budget that wasn't. But
Mhm.
if it doesn't get funded through a supplemental override, we have free cash in our other budget article to do that. Okay.
What does that position do? What are responsibilities?
Sure. So a lot of that position is creating and facilitating programs that are hybrid. So that means you're in person as well as remote. It's also helping people with telehealth. It's tech support, kind of the whole tech world, and helping our seniors understand, navigate, as well as participate. It's helping people that are homebound participate. They can remote access in. It's also beneficial for our part-time residents who are not here, who are off for the winter. They can actually remote in to exercise programs, which is, again, that socialization, that connection. There's probably half a dozen people that are attending one particular class remotely, and it's great. They see their friends and kind of keep in touch, and they're able to exercise and continue to be part of the community.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Mayor, I think we've reached the time where we're gonna have some technical
Have to
difficulties.
close down.
So I'm gonna make a little announcement here. We're gonna shut this meeting down in just a minute here. Rafael will handle that for us. And for those on Zoom, if you log back into your Zoom account and use meeting ID 832-7972-3975 and passcode 140215.
It is in the chat.
And it's in the chat.
If you check the chat, you have the numbers, the ID and the passcode.
Does anybody need raise your hand if you need another minute to get that?
Roy?
Yeah, can you say them again?
The ID 832-7972-3975. Passcode 140215.
Got it. Thank you.
And so in 10 seconds, Rafael will shut down and we'll open up that new meeting. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Finance Committee. It's March 5th, 2026. It is 5:47.
Fine.
This meeting will be video recorded and broadcast over local access channel 8 and through the town website at www.eastham-ma.gov.
And Mary, it's 4:48, not 5:48.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Daylight savings.
Or thanks, Kate.
Time flies when we're having fun.
I looked at my watch quickly. Thanks, Kate. 4:48. Okay.
You got called that.
Oh, okay. So we have everybody now. Okay. All righty. So I guess we'll just ask if anybody has any further questions for Dorothy on the Council on Aging. Okay, I think we're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
everybody.
Thank you for all your work.
Oh, thank you.
And you said that Christine is not well.
No, she's well.
Oh,
She had someone call out sick, so she has to cover the after school program.
Covering for somebody.
Which is, maybe a good segue for me to say, one of the requests for the rec department was a program coordinator, which is not included in this budget. Because it was more than level services. And if we had a program coordinator, then our community services director could actually act as a director and expand some programming and not have to cover shifts because one person called out sick. So, they really do need a person, but.
You're welcome to stay. I offer that to everybody that comes and nobody ever stays.
Here's the new passcode.
Yes. Thank you all so much. Thanks, Rich.
So Christine, I won't tell you too much about what the rec department does, because if Christine's able to dial in, she will, and she'll give you a brief update. But I will answer any questions related to their line items in their budget. And except, I do know one, I think it's very level as to the per usual. Except one area that went up is a contract for porta potties.
Yeah.
And we spend a lot of time, and I update, that's the one thing that I resent this out, because that's the one change, was that line item. We got actual bid results back, from our low bidder. And that's the amount of the contract for the number of porta potties that are listed at the various locations in the detailed budget. For with a certain number of days, usually from mid-June to mid-September. And in a couple locations, we extend that out a little bit further. So that's an opportunity for savings if you don't want all those porta potties. That comes at likely some sort of environmental cost and discomfort to our guests. So we can limit locations, and we could also shut them down, start them later and shut them down earlier. But in talking to Christine, she's comfortable that that's kind of the demand that is expected and is comfortable for our visitors and guests and residents using the various facilities. There, beaches and the Field of Dreams, places like that. We'd also put one at the visitor booth, which is a highly visited area. A lot of people stopping. So I'll take any questions on the line items. At least I can do most of that for Christine, I believe.
And we're looking at pages 14, 15, not 14, I'm sorry, 15, 16 and 17. And 18, right? Yeah. Yeah. And, the 19, 15 through 19.
Can I ask a question on page 19 and 20 on those revolving funds? It's really just terminology. Like at the bottom of page 19, it talks about the revolving funds, and it has, like the first one, it says 64,000 average, spend equals 50,521. Is the 64,000 like the average of what comes into
Receipts,
this?
right.
The receipts? Okay.
This is all informational. This isn't in the budget, but I wanted her to start including it for reference, because there's a lot of programmatic fees that we charge that by law can go into these revolving funds that otherwise normally would be in the budget with the receipts going into a general fund, and then you balance it that way. But these revolving funds for these specific activities, those receipts can go into the separate fund, and then that fund can pay for the costs related to delivering that program. And so, as you can see, they're profitable in a sense.
Yeah.
But if they reach over a certain amount of money left in the till, they have to be closed out at the to the general fund. If they're over a certain amount at the end of each year. But it's really just reference, because not everything that happens in the town is in the operating budget. The community services department is kind of the biggest example that both the library and the COA and the rec department have friends groups and different funds that pay for a lot of their activities.
Are we, I think I remember that we are increasing the sticker cost for the, some of the beach, yeah.
Yeah, Christine would be better talking.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. It was presented at the select board meeting recently, and they're talking about.
It was a nominal, I think it was a $5 increase in the resident sticker, and the biggest change was we had
I think we
The
have
week beach, they got rid of the 2 week beach.
Three.
No.
we got rid of the 2 week,
2 week,
and if you want 2 weeks, you just buy 2 1.
2 1 weeks.
Yeah,
Again, it wasn't that big of a fee increase, but
yeah.
we are trying to, instead of doing big jumps, every 10, 15, 20 years, we can do incremental jumps. Every couple of years is probably a better approach.
Mary,
Yes, Jerry.
fee went to from $25 to $30 for the first 2 cars, and then there was a significant jump for a third automobile as well. I think they went up to $75 for that, and they did eliminate the 2 week seasonal, not seasonal, the 2 weeks sticker. So you have to buy 2 1 weeks, and if you want to stay a third week, it's cheaper to buy the seasonal.
Thank you, Jerry. And haven't we had problems in the past too, getting lifeguards and swimming instructors? And so we haven't been able to have some of the programs that we'd like to have.
I think that's right. Yeah, and I'd probably defer that question to Christine to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
the details of that, but that you're correct.
The idea of what happened with the unclassified supplies, it actually is significantly lower than the last actual, 25 actual.
What page?
Page 18, sorry, unclassified supplies. And what, FY 23 was almost 10,000 and you get budgeting two, so.
Right, well, I think what
So,
she does, a lot, so could be some misclassification between uniforms and other supply accounts.
the uniforms went the other way, so.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But the bottom line is she does a pretty good job of, we operate on a bottom line expense budgets. These are guides and we itemize them so we know what we're raising the money for.
Yeah.
So perhaps we could do a little bit better job on the itemization here. But the bottom line is, we look at the total for 25, spent 99,000, the budget of about 110, so. Within 10%.
Right.
Do we make much money on parking tickets?
No,
I mean,
and a lot of that money,
there's a cost here to print them.
right?
And I was just wondering,
I think the philosophy there is we kind of have to give the tickets. I don't know that we get the money. I think it's the state or Plymouth County that administers the program. But if you don't ticket, then you're just gonna have people,
just do whatever you want to do. But we don't proceed
we don't
to
get money on it, but we kind of have the costs to,
just put the ticket on the car or something.
because otherwise it just, why bother having fees, why bother buying a sticker?
Is there an issue too with the ability to have the after-school program? We don't have enough staff for that, and also the preschool and childcare program. Aren't there some issues with the family support package and the amount of money that
Family support packages,
that's under the human services?
different-
Yeah,
hold on
yeah,
now.
yeah, okay, yeah, never mind.
preschool,
Yeah.
I don't know that's a problem of staffing, it's just that, if we want to add a person, there's demand, and the
Mhm,
question
yeah.
is, do we want to add another person to handle that demand?
Mhm. Because I think we've used all the money.
Well, it's a paid program, so it's a revolving fund, but the primary staff person isn't
Right,
paid out of the revolving fund,
right.
it's paid out of our budget.
Right.
They also do other things,
Mhm.
because an after-school program is after school, so in the
Yeah,
morning.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Do other things. So there's a possibility to expand it by utilizing the fees in the revolving fund,
Mhm.
but that's a more tenuous position to be in as an employee, right? If you're not really part of the budget and you're funded through the revolving fund and demand goes up and down, is that a position that you want to be in?
Mhm.
If you're thinking it's a long-term thing, so I think Christine could speak to that, but I think those are some of the challenges she has. But adding a person to the payroll on the budget would certainly be an increase in service, just to make sure that we had an extra person for just the after-school program. But if we're bringing, but the request was for a program coordinator who would do
Yeah.
other things, but likely could also help on the incremental demand on the after-school program.
Yeah. Well,
But they do a lot of work for, it's really 3 people in that department, plus the summer.
Yeah. You were talking about the porta potties. Do they, are they required to get 3 quotes for?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Are there any questions from the folks that are zooming on the recreation budget?
Hey, Mary, I'll
Okay.
go to the Veterans Services.
Yeah.
As you might recall, the Veterans Services, part of our budget isn't run by the town. It's run by the district, it's called the District Department of Veterans Services. It's a Cape-wide agency, regional agency, established by state law. Only town that's not in it, I believe, is Falmouth, might not be in it, but all the other towns are. And they've got, I think it's 4 veteran services agents that provide services through the whole Cape. We coordinate benefits and services. And so we just get an assessment from them, and their budget is extremely Spartan. They really operate on a very lean budget, but they do a lot of great work. They're actually looking for a new facility now because they have a town of Barnstable that has been hosting them for years, and now they need this, or not town of Barnstable, one of the local banks in Hyannis has been giving them space for next to nothing. But now the bank is renovating and wants to expand. And so now we need to find space for the Veterans Agency. So all the town managers on the Cape are working on that. But the long and short of it is, they get a state statutory formula of how to come up with their budget and allocate it, and this is our allocation. And you'll notice that we carry an amount for veterans benefits. But we have no expenditures there.
Right.
And I believe it's about 3 or 4 years ago. Right page, this is page 21.
Page 21.
Oh, yeah, fiscal year 23 was the last time we had veterans benefits of just a nominal amount. Prior to that, we were spending, I believe, upwards of 30 grand or a little over 30 grand a year. And the difference being is we just don't have any veterans in our town receiving benefits. But as just a matter of principle, that could change any time. And I did drop that. Yeah, you see a couple of years ago, the benefits line was 40, and I dropped it down to 30. And I just don't think it's prudent to go anymore along the lines of what we just talked about. You take a line away, and now you got to figure a way to get it back. We know someday we're going to need this money. And so this is our provision for, we have a veteran that moves into town, and with what's going on today, maybe we'll have more veterans needing services.
How is the allocation made, do you know? I mean, how is it determined what our allocation is?
For the benefits?
Yeah.
We own 100% of the benefits provided.
But are they decide 30 or, I don't know, okay.
No, when it was back in the days when it was, $35,000 of benefits, that didn't necessarily, each veteran qualifies for benefits at different levels, depending on their level of disability or injury. There's all kinds of criteria that these veteran service officers know all about. And they make sure they get the maximum benefit. So the amount of money of the 35,000 we used to spend could have been one person, or it could have been 5 people at that lower amount. So, we don't know the details of who gets the benefits. It's kind of a privacy issue, which is why you have a veteran service agent. We are required by law to have a veteran service agent. And most towns just over the bridge have their own, or maybe they might have 2 towns that share one. But the Cape has always been, or for many, many years, been a regional district Department of Veteran Services.
So when I asked about the allocation, as I said, under the assessments, we've got us down for 29,836.
Oh, so you're asking about the assessment?
The assessment, how is that determined?
It's a state formula based on, I think, what they call equalized valuation. So they get the equalized valuation each town, and whatever our percentages of that total, that's our assessment.
And we get a stipend each year from them? No.
We need a stipend.
Well, so we're paying into this veterans district assessment, right? 30,000. And we're also reserving 30 for.
So
but do we get any benefits from it?
Well, we have to have a veterans agent. And so our alternative is to hire our own for just the town of.
Okay, so that's what that is.
So for 29,836, we're getting the benefit of a regional agency that have 4 expert regional veteran service officers and a director that directs all that activity and coordinates that activities at the VA hospital and all that. So for 30 grand, that's our cost to buy into access to all of that, to service our veterans if we have them. And so that usually is budgeted pretty much on the dot. I mean, you see the last year, we were off $5.
Right.
So we only sent them 26,305, and we had $5 returned to the general fund. On the $30,000 for the benefits, that's for our folks. And if they don't need it and they'll charge us for it, then it goes back to our general fund.
So that's what that was really what I was interested in knowing. Thank you. Any questions from the folks that are zooming on the veterans services? Okay, shall we go to the human services?
So we have on page 22 and 23, the human services budget.
Right.
And here you can see, we have a human services committee that convenes and reviews requests. And they provide their recommendations to the town manager.
Is that appointed by the select board?
I believe that is,
Yeah, they're appointed, yeah. They meet and they do meet with the folks associated with the different.
That was gonna be one of my questions of who decides
Yeah.
these amounts.
Say I'm involved with helping our women, and I'm looking for money, I would come to the human services meeting. And push for my needs, and then hopefully they will.
and they allocate the money, and this year, by and large, I think, stick with their overall budget. They did have a couple spots. You look down, there's a subtotal. I subtotaled it this year, subtotal human service committee contracts. Going up from 68,000 to 79,000. On top of page 23, top third. So those are human service contracts, and what those mean are, it's not just you're a nonprofit and you want money to help run the nonprofit. It's you're a nonprofit and you're providing services to Eastham residents. And so when the Human Services Committee meets with them, that's what part of what they're looking at is, are you providing service to Eastham residents? Presumably, if they weren't providing the services, then perhaps we would provide the services, and this is a more equitable, efficient way to deliver the service. So it's not really, some towns they call these, you're contributing to the nonprofits. No, we're not contributing to the nonprofit. We're purchasing their services to service our residents is really what we're doing. So one of the biggest one is the Lower Cape Outreach Council. So anytime we have a case where we have a resident that has some needs and they approach us, or we find out about it, either through our housing person or our health agent or police department. We work with caseworkers from some of these agencies. And Outer Cape Health is another one of them. Homeless Prevention Council. And we set them up with case management and they take care of our residents. So these contracts are in lieu of us having our own infrastructure and staff doing it ourselves and having to recreate a whole program to deliver this various amount of services. So this is not money that's just going because it's a feel-good thing that we want to give nonprofits money. It's because they deliver services to our residents, and we do ask them to give us, I think, typically quarterly reports of how much service they have rendered to Eastham residents, so we understand that it's actually happening.
Yeah. And this is the human service. This is the budget where at the bottom of page 23, where the family support packages.
Correct.
And that's what I was asking about earlier, when I should have waited till this discussion. But that's the 490, 500,000 and the 100,000 for the housing, and then the 390 for the rest of it, which is for the pre-K. And that's where we're also getting money for the childcare. We took, because some of that was originally for food.
Right.
And we're not using it because the states, have we received anything from the state saying that they will continue the food program for?
I haven't heard anything about it.
A period of time?
Doing that status quo until we hear differently.
Yeah, okay.
But to your question, yeah, there's about when we were developing the budget, there was an idea that we could easily use another $125,000 on that line item.
Mhm.
So that is not obviously included in this budget. But after we're done talking about it, this I have as part of the town meeting warrant and my overall budget update. That is included in potential supplemental overrides that the finance committee and the select board thought were important. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about it now. I've taken all the requests that aren't in the budget, all the budgets that you reviewed, and Jackie and I have condensed them to the highest priorities of those requests. So not all the requests, but we're going to present to the select board and to yourselves. Here are some other things that we think are important, and we want you to have a second look or a second thought on them of whether you want to add them once you know what the overall context of override is, just from the level basis of service. Because
there was a discussion that there wasn't enough money in there for
Right.
For the, for the number of
But
people
it's
that
neat.
we're looking for the, program.
Right, so
Pre-K.
we know there's more demand for the preschool
Childcare, yeah,
voucher program,
right.
but if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. So the answer is, if less the money's gonna be there and people wanna put it there,
Mhm,
then you just cut back the service. Either you limit the participation
mhm.
or you allow to make the participation bigger and lower the amount. So we can manage it with what we've got. It's not an urgent need, but I think it is important to our community. So when Jackie and I talked, Jackie kind of wanted it on that priority list for a second consideration. The other thing that's changed, two other things I just want to highlight. It's not a change, it's the same amount. But in the middle of that page 23 is the Navigator program, the Regional Nursing
The 43.
Health Program. Those are both throughout Cape Health, and those are super important. And this is, I think, that will be the third year, well, Navigator program we've had for many years, but the Regional Nursing and Behavioral Health Program is a partnership with Truro, Wellfleet, and I think Provincetown. And that's how we have access to a public health nurse through this program. So it's a bigger program, and to some extent it's grant funded, but this is the non-grant funded piece. And
Isn't there a grant like for the whole Outer Cape region? Is that the one that has a,
well, it started with an ARPA grant.
Yeah.
The ARPA was only a one-time, it's not a recurring. So we got another grant that helps some of this, but this is our piece of
it's art?
what's left.
Were there monies left over or given to the town from the drug issue,
The opioid.
yeah, opioid?
Yep.
Mm,
But they have very specific restrictions on how you can use that money.
Mm.
This covers things that, other than opioid issues, so. And then one other place that there's a change is under visitor services. You see the East Hampshire Chamber of Commerce went from 20 to 25,000.
Right.
They have been requesting for years, at least 4 years, for additional funding, and they talked to me this year. And their requests are for $16,000 more. And this is basically for the cost of the information booth. And I didn't even split the baby, I gave him a third of the baby. Yeah, so we had a little savings. I don't know if I've had a chance to present it yet. But we did get better health insurance rates than we had anticipated. So when I had a reduction there, I said, okay, they've been on us for years. I didn't take the whole savings from health insurance. I think it was this and the porta potties that I knew needed more money. So I put just a few bucks of that savings, and this is one of the spots in.
Where does the Chamber of Commerce get most of their money? Obviously, this isn't all the money that they need. Does the commercial businesses help out in any way?
I think they pay into it, and then I think there's donations.
Jim Russo was chair and then he left and somebody replaced him, and I understand that person
And they have a
left.
new, and I met the new person.
Oh, you
They
met
came in and talked to me. I asked them to come and explain it all to me.
Oh, okay.
So they have a compelling case that they should, be getting more.
Mm.
But we are where we are, so
Mhm.
it's all, we'll see what we can do, so.
Are there any questions from the folks zooming on the human services expense account? Yeah. Okay. That's that. Okay, I'm looking at the agenda and I'm on to number 5, review of warrant articles.
Hey, Mary, just, Christine's still got a child, so
I'm sorry?
Christine still has a child, so I just wanna, update you on something else before we move on to that.
Oh, okay, go
Text
ahead.
her first. Before we went into that, now that we went this way, what we just looked at was the last of the departmental budgets. And so you've seen everything in, detail and had a chance to ask your questions. So I sent out to you last night. I just wanted to go through it real quick. I don't want to spend a lot of time this meeting, other than to kind of give you the high level of it. If you want to discuss some of the stuff next meeting, then we can do that. But I want to let you know that now that you've gone through all the departments, the whole review, where does that leave us, right? And so,
Bad news.
so the first part is here on the town-based budget. Total budget is going up only 613,000 because we had a reduction in debt service. But when you add back that debt service back to what that means for the operating budget, it means the operating budget went up about 1.5 million, a 4.2% increase. That amount of increase would require a $755,000 override. And if that all went through, the increase in taxes with the current 3% RTE would go up about $239 for a median valued home. And the tax burden for that home would be $5,870. So, you know, we know on the basis, it didn't include several things that we've asked for. We're just kind of trying to keep the level of service. So the next spot for the level of service is the collective bargaining arrangements. And the long and short of that is, it's just under $1.6 million for the 3 years of the contract. About 1.1 for this year. And so if that passes on an override, that adds $156 for that item. Add it to the 239 base budget increase,
$395.
and you're up to 395, so a 6.8% increase in property tax to $6,035 for about a $780,000.
And
Then we're still waiting on the schools. I haven't heard back from the superintendent. I re-looked at what he sent me. They're behind a week on the budget process because of the blizzard. But I went back and looked, and he said that he couldn't present it until anytime after, I think, the 18th. And I had him scheduled for the 19th.
right,
But I just said, hey, so that means you're coming Thursday, right? And so I'm just trying to confirm with him. But, so we'll find out hopefully 18th or 19th, exactly what the impact is, but.
so we really won't know about the 19th school budget until the 18th, probably.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
The school committee is voting the budget on the 18th.
Yeah.
So we'll know where we stand, hopefully, on that time, but I'm carrying because of the enrollment shift issue. And anticipated increases in the budget in special education costs, 1.6 million. And so. That's a level service override that's kind of needed. And if that were to pass, that item alone adds $232.
For a total of
Mhm.
$620.
Total increase to 627, about 10.
Yeah,
Almost 11%.
Mary,
Yes,
yeah, I have a question for Rich. For the contracts, 1.575 million had an increase of $156. And the 1.6 million that you have in the schools has an increase of $232. I didn't understand.
Yeah, because of the
difference.
1575 is the cost for 3 years. But the cost for the first year is only 1.1.
All right, thanks. That's all. Thank you.
The extra amount there, we carry an excess capacity. So then year 2, we utilize the amount needed for year 2, and year 3, we use the amount for year 3.
so we're going to be looking for the 1.575 figure to cover the 3 years.
Right.
We're only going to use in the first year 1.1.
Exactly.
The rest of it stays for the second year and the third year.
Right. So that's on me to make sure we do it that way. So we just because you have excess capacity doesn't mean it's available for anybody to take advantage of. I gotta make sure we steward that amount and not spend it elsewhere.
And then we've got the school thing, so it all adds up to $627 on a median price home. And I got an override of 3.930 million.
Right.
What are you assuming for the schools? This is just for the enrollment shift and
Special ed.
1.6.
no increase in school budget.
No, that's what the extra 6 million is for, 600,000 is for. So I expect $1 million for enrollment shift. And
Yeah,
I provide for 1.6.
well, but the elementary school's in there, right?
It is.
At 300 or something. Yeah. the,
So what we've ended up with is an increase for a median price home for next fiscal year of $627 and an override of 3.930 million.
And then when we get the final numbers from the school, we'll adjust this accordingly and get, what it looks like going into our budget hearing.
So is this for like a communication, this,
Well, I want you to have the
But-
information, so when you get asked questions, you have something to refer to.
Mm.
And yeah, I am gonna use
you
this for
could like send it out to the general pub, like use it
I'm
for
doing a
general.
podcast on Friday. It's gonna be based on some of these questions. We can send out it, so start socializing and make people sure they understand why things are. the way they are.
Now, do you think it would be helpful, because I was trying to do it myself? For each, like I just kind of wrote it out, and it's ugly, but for like each, like you have three pieces to get to that 627, the
Right.
tax impact.
Right.
To do like a little table that has each piece, what the budget increases in millions.
Showing it individually for each piece and then the total.
And then like a little table that puts it all in one, like one spot, when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I plan on it, just, this is like just my stream.
This is just to get it
I wanted to
started,
get it
yeah.
down on paper and then we can start.
Because I was just trying to add up, just so that, I was just trying to add it up in my head.
Yeah.
So it just might help people.
But I
drive
probably
it.
would do it, not even in the context of, 25 pages, probably just be a standalone.
Just a little-
graphic I can do and we can put on Facebook or whatever.
Because when I tried to do it myself, I had the same issue as Jerry. I'm like, why is that 239 and 156 from the same, but that makes sense, so.
And the other piece of this is, the residential tax exemption. We have a 3% exemption. When we implemented it last year, there was a talk with consideration of, that perhaps it would phase up over time. And so I don't, and we won't have the same select board come next tax classification hearing as you have now, so I don't want to presume what that board might think or not. But the information is, for every 1% change, if we continue to have the 1,500 residents, because if we have more residents, it changes. And that's what gets a little confusing about this, but just assuming we keep the 1,500 that are signed up now, every 1% increase or decrease in the RTE saves or costs $52 on the median value.
That's pretty low participation, isn't it? Did we anticipate a lot higher than 1,500?
Yeah, we anticipated, so 1,500 is about 26%. We thought we were a 55-45 split, so 45% was the max.
Yeah.
So if you were at the max, since this is the range here,
Sure.
since you asked the question. It'd be $40 the savings it cost if everybody signed up. Well, nobody would sign up or down, but if it went up, then you had everybody that we thought was gonna participate. Instead of $52, it would be worth $40.
I added that to my table. Like when I wrote out my little table.
Do you want one table?
The
or you want
six-
two separate ones?
How many,
The financial analyst, I mean,
how many tables do you?
but I mean, that could be helpful too, like, if we have this, we're talking about 627, which is just today, it's obviously not. Also, the different, a 10% RTE, a 15%, a 20%. I don't know if I'm right, but the 10% I said that would take out $364, a 15 would be $520. What it would bring it down to, just,
The challenge with this,
we don't know what
so
it's
maybe I
gonna
gotta
be.
talk with Jerry or the board as a whole, I guess, is how they wanna approach it, but, you can't guarantee that.
That's gonna be there, so we don't wanna go
Yeah,
there,
so,
yeah.
and town meeting doesn't vote on it. Town meeting's voting on appropriations and overrides, and the ballot votes on overrides. This is outside of it. Now, you can tell them what you might intend to do, but it's gonna be a new
It
board.
might not be there, yeah, so we don't wanna put what is it, the cart before the horse?
Yeah. Kate, had a question, Mary?
Kate, Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Mary. This is not necessarily germane to the subject at hand right now, but it's just a general question. Around the budget for, I'm assuming, the DPW, when they went around with, all kinds of vehicles and got people sort of rescued in a lot of ways. Personally, our street had three downed trees that blocked access completely. And I'm told that the town pays for this, and I'm wondering where that budget item comes from and what it did to your budget, Rich.
We're still trying to figure that out.
Probably with our
But it's,
reserves.
part of the reasons we have reserves.
Mhm.
So we have the reserve fund, which, is probably already gone with just the snow and ice.
200,000 is what's in there.
So people think it's a lot of money. It sounds like a lot of money, but in the context of, what we do as an operation, it's not much. We have a stabilization fund, but really what we've got is a conservative budget, and this is what this budget does for us. If nothing bad happens, we generate free cash, which we then can use for our capital plan, which prevents us from borrowing, which has saves us tens of thousands of dollars every year. But it's not happen every year, but on average, it saves us tens of thousands of dollars every year. And when something bad does happen, I don't know that we got the flexibility in this budget to cover everything, but we can cover what we need to cover. And, so that's the value of this. You go look at warrants in other towns all around us, and in every single town meeting warrant, you're gonna see supplemental budgets to close out the prior fiscal year because they ran out of money and they deficit spent. And honestly, you shouldn't even do that. Can't contemplate that. Town meeting is gonna cover your tail after the fact. If I was a town meeting person, I would be like, you come to me before, not after. So we don't have any of that, and that's because we got flexibility. And the flexibility also offers us the ability to make good decisions and timely decisions and not defer decisions just because it's not in the budget this year. That's it. It's hard to quantify, but
I asked that.
There's lots of good reasons.
I asked the question on purpose because this is our tax dollars at work. And I think people need to understand that the DPW was working, as far as I could tell, 24/7. And so was the chief, both chiefs, fire and police. And I just want to say publicly, again, this is not germane to what we're talking about, but it is in a larger picture that these people, everybody did an amazing job with communication and getting people, for all intents and purposes, rescued and dug out. So,
And not to get too far afield, but to close the circle there that you started, Kate. That is one of I put in here on page, I got some Q&A here that I'm sure you can read through just fine, but starting on page 14 is a different perspective, a different way to look at the budget. And I added the benefits into this. I allocated the benefits out amongst all the departments so you can see the benefit loading and the impact. And so the reason I did this is that I start getting asked the question, especially when you're faced with large overrides, the question is, well, what'd you cut and what's discretionary? So theoretically, these are the things here that are discretionary. And if you look at it, you're not going to make up the amount of money we need to make up on the expense line items. You need to be cutting salaries and you need to be cutting staff. And so we're pretty thinly staffed as it is, in my opinion. And so to not have overrides, to limit an override of any substance, we'd have to lay off a lot of people. And then you don't have those resources when you need them for things such as this. And so that's really the challenge. And I don't want to get into this discussion on this document because I just got it to you, but I wanted to get it in front of you. And so if you do have questions, we can meet one-on-one or we can talk about it next week on some of these details.
Yeah, Rich, this is, well, one statement for Kate. We had an emergency select board meeting and declared a state of emergency, which allows Rich and the town to go over the police budget, to go over the other without having to come back and getting the transfer of funds stuff beforehand through you, the finance committee, and the select board. And Rich, you'll correct me if I somehow said something that was totally wrong there.
No, that's correct. But you also should know, is I can let you know that we're working right now. Most of the DPW is working in getting all the information available. MEMA, Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, through funding from FEMA, has given us, some instructions to gather our information over the 3-day period, Monday, I'm not sure what time, but some point on Monday through Wednesday. So hopefully we can get some sort of reimbursement, and hopefully it's coming through the state, because you gotta get it through the federal government, that could take years, but if it's coming through the state and the state then follows up and gets reimbursed subsequently from the federal government, that we potentially could get some of this money back. I don't know if we get it this year. It might take longer than the rest of this year, but maybe within a year. But generally, those circumstances, what the state does is allows you to carry deficits in anticipation of that reimbursement. But we'll carry the deficit for reporting purposes to get reimbursed. But I don't think we're gonna have a true deficit, because we'll have savings and reserve funds that will be used to actually cover it up, so we can actually move forward appropriately. And then when we get that reimbursement, that's just icing on the cake,
Thank you, Rich, and thank you, Jerry.
I think this is great, what you did, because I also think it's almost like, not budgeting for dummies. It's the process for people who really don't understand the process. And it's a good education for everybody, every taxpayer in town, what's happening.
Gives you all the pieces.
It gives you all the pieces, and I think some people are like, well, we're just spending all this money. It's like, we're not spending any money. It's just the costs are going up around us, and I think you did a good job of explaining that and what we do on our end. But I also like what you just talked about, because I think if people say, well, where can we cut? You could sit there and say, well, these are the pieces of the budget. You want to cut police, you want to cut fire, you want to cut DPW.
Fire, because it's an easy, understandable, so not like I want to pick on fire, but we need to cut the budget, so we gotta lay off people. Okay, well, in this order of magnitude, we'd have to lay off probably somebody in every shop, including fire. So fire is staffed to give you 2 emergency responses that happen at the same time or near the same time, because it takes 3 hours to go up and back to the hospital. So if you have the second rescue, if you're the unlucky person to have the second rescue call within a 3-hour time frame, you're gonna have to wait for an ambulance from Wellfleet or Orleans to come.
But
So this allows us to do 2, or if there's an accident or a fire, allows us to respond appropriately and safely to one larger incident. Now, can we take a fire and staff 1 ambulance? It's not safe for our fire department. It might not be safe for our residents. And that's all you got. Don't be the second person to call. And I don't want to be over the top and fear mongering on it, but that's what it equates to.
I think it does what you want it to do. I think if you sit there and say, all right, do you want to cut police? It's a big part of the budget. They'll be like, hell no, I don't want to cut police. All right, fire. No, we can't cut that either. I think people see how important the pieces are.
The ramifications
So,
of taking
yeah, so
action.
you're telling us exactly what, if you want, I'm crazy if I want to cut this, and then you see other budgets are such a small amount, they're not even gonna have an impact, so why bother? So,
Same with DPW, the non-public safety, including DPW, that is, really it's the administration and operations area. And so we look at that, my budget's probably the biggest budget outside of public safety in public works. But I don't know how well I explained it, but we don't have any 1-person shops, and we got succession planning, and we got, so, unlike our neighbor who had 1 accountant, 1 treasurer, and then they leave and they can't replace them for 6 months, where does that leave you? Nothing's happening.
right, a vicious cycle of it.
Well, something's happening, but it's not good.
Could we operate with 1? I mean, nobody would like it, and they'd get stressed out, and there'd be problems. But is that really what you want to be? So,
Right,
could we do it for a time? Sure. Eventually the wheels fall off and things go awry. But can you get through a year? Sure. But the problem is when you figure out, we got through a year, now we need to add it back. Well, you adding it back is the same issue as keeping it in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is, you need to know from.
and then you see a storm like last week, and you see how awesome the departments are that helped, and there's a reason they're there. They're, working for us and happy and helping.
I guess the last thing I just want to say on the whole thing, just because I find it interesting, going through this did cause me to, I knew this my head, but I hadn't kind of zeroed in on it in a while. You know, we feel the impact as East Hampton residents, or Orleans residents as I am, when taxes go up, because residential property tax is pretty much the only game in town. It's the vast majority of our budget.
We just don't have any commercial.
And it goes up 3% a year. So if our costs go up more than 3%, that's the underlying problem. When we have a lot of non-residents, for example, come from the Metro West or metro area, a lot of those towns, and I picked up Cambridge as an example, but Cambridge isn't the best. There's actually, better examples I can use, but that was kind of in the middle of the road. Most of those towns, about 1/3 of their property tax base is residential, and 2/3 is commercial. And those commercial tax rates usually are somewhere between 2 to 3 times higher than the residential rate. So when those taxes go up in those communities, and we have taxpayers that are coming from those communities and used to that, even though their taxes are higher than they are here, they're not feeling the full brunt of it. The commercial tax base is carrying it,
Paying the load.
and very little of the impact goes to the residents of those communities. And so that's pretty impactful.
That's important. I agree with Paul. I think sort of Paul said earlier that document from
And yeah,
was I thought very well written and very informative, and should definitely put that on the web.
And the Nantucket article was interesting too, if you think, oh, Nantucket has so much money, that this doesn't.
yeah, like.
Or
I
does.
know something about most of the towns around here, but I used to do some stuff in Nantucket, so I have a little insight how they operate, and they're great, but their approach over the last several years is they, instead of facing the facts up front, they used some of these pots of money that they had available to them, but didn't resolve the underlying problem. Now, if you think it's just a problem for 1 or 2 years, you think you can make it, then that's one thing, but a lot of these problems are, the inflationary problem we have has been existing for since COVID now, 5+ years, right? So is it just transitory, or is it gonna keep going on, right?
I mean, more than once I've had that conversation with friends on just the basic dynamics of 2.5 limits the growth of your highest revenue to 2.5, and how many of your costs are not going up by 2.5, and you can see the light bulbs go on in their heads. So it's
In Nantucket, I don't know if you read that one, but their new growth. When you renovate a $20 million building, then you get a $50 million building.
The new growth piece can be in the
Your
millions.
new growth is 1.75, so they're not getting 2.5, they're getting 4.25, or whatever that is.
Oh, yeah,
Growth a year,
big difference.
and we're getting 3.
yeah.
Yeah.
And their rental, what was their short-term rental? Was it like 15 million or?
Yeah.
It goes into their budget?
I appreciate.
And actually, our commercial, if I remember correctly from a number of months ago, our commercial percentage has been decreasing. Of the total.
It can't get much lower.
I don't know.
To the lowest.
It's not good. It's not good from that perspective.
I appreciate you pointing out in a couple of spots in this too, that the schools, the schools are facing the same pressures in terms of inflation and basically inflation and wage growth and all that.
So I guess the final thing, I had a couple things, so explain that. Sorry for those of you on the Zoom, you don't have this, but I can email it to you. And I don't want you to talk about it, it's not on the agenda, but I want to give it to you for your consideration. Because I do have a list
What are you referring to right now?
of the priority items that, the 3.9 million doesn't scare you off.
Was that?
And you think the COA hybrid programming is deserving of, right now what our approach is, and you'll see in the warrant that we're gonna get into a second, is those first 3 things, the general budget, the collective bargaining, and the schools.
Yeah.
Are all part of one general override. But what we'll present to yourselves and the select board is, would you like to reconsider these other priority things? And if you do, we can add to that, but those would be separate questions.
Separate overrides for each article, for
Well,
each
people-
item, I should
Right,
say.
so if people really think they need the COA programming, but you don't think you need to split the finance director and assistant town manager, then you could do the one or both or however you want.
Yeah, but I don't think I saw what you're
No,
referring
because I
to.
didn't give it to you. I'm trying to find it.
Have multiple overrides, is that?
You could.
Well, we have had in the past.
Well, I mean, the way I heard what Rich just described to be 20, or however many are on this list. override.
Yeah, I heard it.
But I can't imagine that you're all gonna wanna do all of them, and this, you know, the select board hasn't seen this yet either, so I apologize, Jerry.
Patty,
Thanks.
can this be emailed to
And
the,
I'll email it to the rest of you tonight. But
Rich is gonna email this to you.
what I'll tell you what it is, notice, I'll read it to you. As part of the budget development process, town has considered approximately $763,000 of additional department expense budget requests, as well as requests for additional staffing costing approximately $1 million. These requests are not included in the current budget. The items listed below represent the priority items included in those requests that we're presenting for additional consideration for inclusion in the final budget, subject to the passage of an override. The cost of each $100,000 of additional appropriation is about $15. So the first item is no cost, no impact to the tax rate this year, because we're not going to appropriate the money. But do we want to put on the wastewater operating override of 1.5 million that we informed people of last year? We will need that money, you know, in the next 3 years at the latest. Potential new positions. Split assistant town manager and finance director position for $175,000. That would be a tax impact of $25.
On the median house.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, median
Median,
Well,
value, median
well, it's
value.
$15 per 100,000.
oh, okay. For 100,000, so 25 per 100,000,
15 per 100,000.
okay, so what's 25? Oh, for the 175, okay.
So 200,000 would be 30, 175 is $25. Fund the existing COA hybrid programming position that you heard about tonight. That'd be about 37.5. That would cost an extra $6. Add a recreation department program coordinator position, 87.5. That would be $13 added. Then we have two potential service enhancements. So Mary, you asked about the preschool funding. That's important to everybody. If it's really that important, and the select board wanted to put this on the warrant, we can increase funding for the preschool program. I put 125,000. It doesn't need to be that, but if it were, that would cost $18 extra. This is all on top of the $627 that we built up.
You talked about earlier.
And then finally, we have online permitting, but it's only at a couple departments. We'd love to get it expanded throughout the town and all town departments. Those licensing costs cost us $45,000. It's a service enhancement to do that. If that's important, it's 45 grand. That costs an extra $7.
So.
Rich, could you repeat that last one, please?
I'm sorry.
Does add up to?
Expand online permitting, extra licensing costs is $45,000. And that would add $7 to the tax burden.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll email this out right after this meeting.
And what you're saying is that each one of these items would be a warrant article all by itself.
Right. And I don't want to have discussion on it tonight.
Yeah,
I just want to introduce it to you. It's not necessarily on the agenda,
Mhm.
but I could have included it in the warrant. So it's kind of part of that. But I just want you, because I didn't want to give it to you the next meeting with we haven't seen it and we mentioned it to you, so.
That adds up to about $70.
About $70.
$70
For all of them.
for all of them.
So they could all be, you know, you could add them into the existing budget and add it to the one override, which I don't think we're recommending.
Sure.
You could bundle them together and have a second override with all the items, up or down, or you could each be their own.
So, and there were still things people asked for, but you're not putting on this
No,
list.
these are just the priority items.
These are like a ranking. But the first ones we talked about, those really, we really don't have a choice.
Right.
Override, have to pass town meeting and then go to ballot.
Yes and no.
Well, now-
That's a important distinction. None of these amounts, you know, let's use this first, this 175,000 for the splitting of the position isn't in the budget. Now, I could write an article to appropriate that money. The appropriation needs to go to town meeting. And then that override needs to be approved at the ballot. But what you could also do, not appropriate the money, and you're not gonna have it for this upcoming year because it's not appropriated. But you could still put it on the ballot and get the levy capacity, and then you could include it for the next year. So it's a two-step process. The town meeting sets your budget, not the ballot. The ballot sets the level of funding you've got.
So what's your preference there? To do the second way, to just put it on the ballot, so it's good to go for next year?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because I would hesitate to put something on the ballot that hadn't been talked about at town meeting, right? So we could put an article with all these items as a town meeting warrant article for discussion only, no amounts appropriated or dollar appropriated, subject to passage of the to override and put it in the budget for the next year. We could do something like that. But I think, not to speak for the board, but I can't imagine the select board would want to not have discussion at town meeting either, nor would you guys.
But is there any way to get it in the budget? What would be the way to get it in the budget for next, for?
We just have it as a standalone article. See if the town wants to vote to add 125,000 for preschool funding.
Okay.
Raise and appropriate 125,000 from the tax levy contingent upon an override. So that gets it appropriated at town meeting.
And that gets it discussed at town meeting.
Right.
Then wouldn't that be the way to do it then? So then if
Well,
it wants it, they'll get it in the budget for next.
Well, the contemplation, that's why a select board, elected officials are so important is, and you guys, you've got a sense of the pulse of the town. We're, it's asking a lot just for the general override, right? So do you want to compound that?
To add to it.
Add to it. So that's kind of the contemplation. Rory's got a question, right?
Roy?
Yes, the wastewater one, that was the first one you ran off there. How much would that one be?
There would be no impact in this year's budget because I'm not asking for the appropriation. We told and discussed it at the special town meeting last year that we would need $1.5 million for the operating.
Right.
As part of that $1,000 impact. But we never asked them to vote for that override last year. In hindsight, we should have.
Yeah, I think that'd be a winner. I mean, they all voted for that last year and.
So,
I think
we're voting the authority to raise the money, but we're not actually gonna raise the money. So there's no tax impact this year. It just will be part of the $1,000 impact that's gonna be felt as we move forward in the wastewater process.
It's sort of a technicality, housekeeping.
Right. Very sorry, Mary, to derail all that, but
No.
you went over the one.
It's all, I think we're having some excellent discussions on where we are, on the current status of everything. I think we're putting it together and getting cohesive information.
You want me to run through the warrant?
Right, and you're going to email this to the Zoom folks.
Yep.
Okay. So you did pass out the folks that wanted it, or the town warrant draft.
Yeah, and let me just take the highlights for you. I'm not gonna talk about zoning it up. Paul will be here next week. And he'll go over all the zoning articles.
Yeah, I have that down. I mean, I had that down to comment on for our next, that would be our next meeting on March 12th.
Yeah, and so I'm looking at the table of contents. If you folks online have the table of contents open. We have our typical revolving funds, approving budgets, operating. 2B is the collective bargaining article. So our approach is we keep the base budget and the operating budget as 2A, and then the 1.575 that we need on the collective bargaining is a separate ask under 2B. 2C is a regular water enterprise fund budget, but there's a oddity that's happening with that this year. It took me a while to figure this out and actually consulted with town council, and then that didn't work out. And I had a brainstorm the other day and called the state and they agreed with how I could do this. But I wish we had done it differently before, but we still would have the same problem. Is it's very difficult in Massachusetts to discontinue an enterprise fund. I mean, it's not difficult, it's easy, but they don't make it easy to get the money that you want to utilize to where you want it to go. So it's kind of a convoluted process of, what you'll notice in 2C when you get into the details of this is I'm funding the entire budget instead of what with water revenues, I'm funding it with retained earnings.
So,
Because I want to use up the retained earnings in the water enterprise fund. And that's connected to Article 4D, which is adopting a new, what I'm calling a water resource enterprise fund. So the idea here is we do not want separate retained earnings for water separate from wastewater. Looking at building a budget, and the personnel that are going to be doing the water and wastewater are going to be the same personnel, and I don't want to have to allocate them between activities. I want them in one budget. And I want the retained earnings to be fungible so that if wastewater is short one year, but water is good, that they can cover it, or vice versa. And we still have to keep track of revenues and expenses by activity, but it does give us a lot of flexibility. So the best way to make this happen is to start the new water resource fund for July 1. And all the water receipts, all the revenue that we get can go into that fund. There'll be no budget and nothing to spend out of it, but it'll get all the money coming in for water. And that will give it a retained earnings in year 2. And we'll use the retained earnings in the existing water enterprise. And when all those retained earnings are used up, we can close that out and be done with that. So it's a little technicality that I had to get creative in how to approach, and the DOR was all impressed that I came up with that. So they said you know what, it makes sense. So that's the complexity there. Then we've got the capital improvement plan and the capital budget. We've got the other budget appropriations, which has our typical reserve fund funding and a handful of non-capital, non-operating budget items, including the COA hybrid funding that's not added to the budget. And I also did put 2 things. We'll have Hillary will give me an update and I can give it to you. We have some PFAS testing issues that we need to do. So we have some money allocated to that, and money allocated to town manager transition, which would represent us hopefully hiring someone to replace me before the start of the year. So if we can aid in the transition, or if we need to call Jackie back for something, she's knees deep in a specific issue that she can see it through, type of thing.
while you're looking I'm looking at I think year 4A, you're looking at 4A.
Yes.
Yeah, the library roof, 50,000, that doesn't seem like enough to me.
Would you like it to be 2 million there?
Yeah,
No, we're hoping that we're getting an engineering report any day now.
yeah, I've been wondering what the status of that is.
And at the moment, they're recommending that they think it can be fixed. And so this would be the fix. The alternative is replace the whole roof. But that's,
I'll take the solar panels off and everything else.
yeah, and that's, likely to be millions of dollars.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that they know what they're doing, since we've been trying to fix it for a while now.
The other kind of oddity in this warrant is 4B and C. We've been talking about this for a while. Unfortunately, town council says that they don't think we can combine it. So 4B is to adopt the municipal water infrastructure fund that we've talked about, and I'll give it a surcharge of, at the moment, I'm going to redo all the calculations in the final draft. At the moment, I'm at 1.25%. And then 4C is to reduce the CPA surcharge by 1.25%. The complexity here is it's impossible for this to happen in 1 year here in East Hampton, because our election is within 2 weeks of our town meeting. And the CPA law requires there to be a 35-day notice before election if town meeting votes to change it. So we can't have it on the ballot, because these both need to go on the ballot. Can't have it go on the ballot for this May. So I'm going to arrange with Linda in the clerk's office to have it on the ballot in September. So hopefully that's close enough that people remember the whole reasoning behind it.
But you've got it being reduced from 3 to 1.75.
Right,
Now reducing it 1.25%.
Now you've got from 3 to 1.75.
Cause the width's gonna be 1.25.
CPA and 1.25 for the wastewater. instead of 1.5.
Oh, I see what you're saying, reducing the surcharge rate from the 3 to the, we're gonna tax, the bills are gonna be 1.75. And the 1.25 will be the 600,000. Okay, I was reading it as the 1.75 was gonna be the.
No.
The
So
the wastewater.
because of that timing issue with the notification for an election, we can vote to do this at town meeting and hopefully at the election. But it won't be effective until July 1, 27.
Okay.
So fiscal year 28, so not this upcoming fiscal
Right,
year.
right.
So we'll get another year of full CPA for
Right, right.
27.
So this year is full 3%, next year, which is fiscal year 28.
Yeah.
No, next year is fiscal year 27.
Yeah.
Will be full 3%.
Yes,
And fiscal year 28 will be the
reduced,
reduced amount.
but you'll still get the full match because it's based on the
Yeah.
prior year.
Yeah.
All
So
right. Oh, man.
3 more years of full match if this all would go through. Then we have some bylaws, not a lot of excitement there. I guess 5A would be the big one, does have financial impact, that's the HERO Act, which increases the benefit amounts for veterans. Special legislation, 6A has financial impact. That's of interest to the select board. If we have the residential tax exemption, but it only applies to the homeowners. But if you rent, so what this special legislation is designed to do is if you rent it to a resident of Eastham, that you can also get a benefit.
Year round.
So if you're a year-round rental to a resident. Then we've got the zoning. Then we've got the CPA articles, which I understand you met yesterday, Mary, and liked the new format.
Yeah.
So it's a new format.
Yeah, right.
Where 8A is the reservations to the various restrictions, and 8B consolidates all the projects into one article. They can still be broken out by town meeting if they want to separately discuss them, similar to how we do 4A in our capital budget. You know, it's one article, and if everybody's happy with it, they can move the whole article and we can move along. Or they can move the whole article except hold a certain item, and you can vote and discuss that item separately. So just a way to help move the meeting along if everybody's in agreement. But I have a feeling we'll at least have a discussion on the kiosks like we did last year, just because, right?
Yeah.
11,000. The kiosk is 11,000.
And then finally, we've got one petition article, and it's non-binding. So that's what the warrant's looking like. I just want to make sure, because pretty soon here, we'll be asking you to make your recommendations, and I wanted you to see this, hear the quick explanation, and if you want to call me and ask me questions or come in, we can start going through any or all of these.
Yep. So next meeting, we'll have Paul Leg on the zoning.
Yeah.
Next meeting, we should start voting on some of this, don't you think? Because it goes to print. You see, this is March 5th. It goes to print on, I wrote it down,
April 1st.
on April,
Yes, we have a meeting next Thursday, the 12th.
April 3rd, goes to
Then
print on
we've got a
April
meeting
3rd.
the 19th, which is mostly the
Well,
schools.
hopefully, yeah.
Then we get a meeting on the 26th,
Mhm.
and if you don't get your business done then, you can have a meeting the 2nd, but that's the drop dead date.
Mhm.
Second is a Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah, April 2nd.
April
And
2nd is
actually-
a Thursday?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
So
we have
we've
to make sure
got
Jeff is
4
here.
meetings. Right?
Yeah, we have schools, we have.
And schools as
zoning,
well.
we have Stuff that are.
One meeting will be schools.
19.
We'll hope for the 19th to be schools. You see, next week is the 12th, and that's gonna be zoning.
Mary, what I'd suggest for the 12th is let's get an update from Paul, but not maybe not vote on those,
Right, yeah.
but let's vote. I'll send you an agenda maybe we can vote on many of these.
Mhm.
Not, we won't have the budget finalized yet, so we don't do the budget, we'll have to save those for the end, but.
Right.
The enterprise funds,
Sure.
the special legislation, maybe we can put them on the agenda to be prepared to vote on those for next week, so we can get them out of the way. And then the 19th, here are the schools. And maybe we can be prepared to vote on zoning.
The 19th will be schools.
But not vote on,
I'm sorry, what, Peter?
but not to vote on the schools, but maybe vote on the zoning.
And then,
We'll do the schools and vote on the zoning.
and then the 26th, we can vote on everything else, and if there's some contention or more discussion, you have the second to resolve that.
Mhm.
We have a joint meeting with the select board, I think on the
Yeah.
23rd.
We do. I saw.
And are they, what will they be looking for from us in that meeting?
Is it the 23rd or is it the week before?
The 23rd.
It's the 23rd?
They don't typically, leave it to Jerry. I suppose they could do some other article recommendations at that meeting. But typically they wait till after, but the timing is such that, you might we'll have to figure that out, Jerry.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be kind of compressed. Generally, the select board prefers to see what the finance committee has done. We kind of get your advice as we go forward looking at all the articles. Now, some of them are like the fertilizer one and so forth, we can do differently. But the budget ones, we would really like to see where the finance committee is. But, we all have the deadline of the 3rd of April, and we're going to do the best we can. So whatever you guys can do, we will appreciate it.
But I'll email you a suggested agenda for each of those, Mary.
Yeah.
See if I can get this done.
So do you think that how hopeful are you that we will have the school budget on the 19th?
We're voting it on the 18th, whether they'll be here to present.
That's a given?
That's
Yeah,
what it is.
it's a school committee.
Okay.
So, I can wrap up the budget without their presentation.
Mhm.
It'd be nice to have, but.
Well, we probably won't vote on the budget until the 26th meeting, which is after the joint meeting, so.
Mhm.
And, if the discussion of, do we want to add these supplemental things?
Yep.
That probably, if we're gonna do that at all.
Yeah.
Which isn't, I don't think, a foregone conclusion,
Right.
but if you were, that probably would have to be settled by, I'd say, 26.
26th.
Now, the only thing is that we need to put our comments in the warrant for the finance committee.
What's on your agenda?
I know that, but it's not written. And in order to write it, the person writing it, which is up there on the screen, needs to know what our opinions are.
So,
And the person up on the screen is gonna make your life harder. I go out of the country March 30th. So it'd be ever so if I could just block it all out and we can have it done and just fill in the numbers. Otherwise, I guess I'll have access to the internet, I think, but it'd be better if I was here.
well, that's why I went through the overall before we got into the warrant. So, unless somebody wants to give me some direction that the general override based on everything you've seen, we can't do. I think we can move forward with Paul and the writing of this, Paul, as I presented it.
Yep.
We don't have to worry about what might happen on supplemental stuff.
Okay.
If we need to add that, we can add it, but, and I could write that too. You work with the rest of the committee. If you're not available, then the rest of the committee still.
No, we'll do. Okay, Rich, you and I will talk. We'll get this done. It's no big deal.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to go over next meeting, which is March 12th at 4 o'clock. We're going to have Paul here for zoning.
Yep.
And we're going to hopefully discuss and vote on some of the warrant articles that we are able to vote on at that time.
Yeah.
On March 26th, the next Thursday, then,
19th,
I'm sorry,
the 19th is the next Thursday.
no, I'm sorry, the 19th, thank you, Peter. The 19th, the next week is the 19th of March, and that's going to be the schools, hopefully. And we can vote perhaps at that time on the zoning.
Yes.
Then the next meeting is March 26th. And hopefully we'll be able to vote on everything else at that meeting.
And hopefully that'll just be the budgets.
And, yeah, and as far as Paul putting the letter together for the warrant for the finance committee. You see, if we could, and you're gonna be leaving on the 30th, you said, Paul.
Yes.
If we could finalize that on the 26th. Before you go.
Yeah, and then we'll do what we did last year. I'll get you stuff. You guys give me comments. I'll incorporate everything. Rich will be wonderful as always. We should be okay.
And then we'll leave, at this point, we'll leave the following Thursday, which is April 2nd. In case we need it.
Emergency day.
Emergency. We'll call in the police and the fire departments.
Mary,
Yes,
just
yes.
one quick question. I think I heard Jerry say that the select board is sort of looking to the finance committee for recommendations. And if we're having a joint meeting with the select board on the 23rd, when we vote on everything else on the 26th, could we maybe sort of get a sense from you, Rich, or you, Jerry, of the things that we need to be voting on that are important and important to the select board so that you guys have what you need on the 23rd. I'm just...
You bring up a good point, Kate, is the 23rd is an opportunity for both boards to convene and also take votes.
Yeah.
So if
Okay.
you see the final budget presentation and you like what you see, and if you're not liking what you see at the moment, tell me soon so I can,
Okay. All right.
consider that. But at the moment, I'm moving on the level service budget with the general override, the collective bargaining override, and the school override, which will get the final number on the 18th or 19th. That will be presented at the hearing, and if that's good with everybody, then you should move it forward. You have an opportunity to move it forward then, or at least discuss it with the select board and let them know what you're thinking so they can consider it.
Right. We also have March 30th available for the select board. So if we don't do things at the joint meeting and we're concerned about, let's see what the finance committee does. You do it on the 26th, I think was the date. We can still convene on Monday, the 30th, and that's before the drop dead date on April 3rd. So we also have that in our back pocket if we need it.
Might also be the 23rd hearing might also be a good opportunity because it is a budget hearing. To have any discussions on anything supplemental you want to add above the general budget, right? So you'll all be together.
Right.
And you both get the sense of each other, how you're feeling about those extra things, if you even want to contemplate it at all.
Yep.
Okay.
It will be a lively meeting on that joint meeting. We'll have, hopefully you guys will participate and speak up.
Do our best.
Are you serving a bar?
I was just going to say, what sort of accommodations will you be providing for food and drinks?
We'll have to talk to Rich and Jackie on that.
There's $5,000 in the budget, isn't there, for food?
Yeah.
Wow.
Surf and turf.
It's not food, it's committee expenses.
Rich,
What is the question there?
Yeah,
will
Roy,
we be getting any more content on these articles in the next week?
Yeah, hopefully by the end of the week, my task tomorrow is wrap up all the summaries. And I will try to get those into the select board packet. And then, once whatever I get in the select board packet, I'll resend out to you folks. So you have the same thing that the select board will be discussing on Monday.
Okay. Thank you.
And speaking of things to involve, Laura Kelly, as far as the fertilizer petition is concerned, is that something that we should have her attend one of our meetings here? I know I attended her presentation at the select board, but everybody else here didn't.
Maybe just watch that select board meeting or that piece of it.
Mhm.
I could even carve it out and edit it down to be just her presentation and send it to everybody.
It was pretty quick, wasn't it? Only like 10 or 15 minutes?
I don't
Yeah.
remember the time, but
I can ask Laura, but you got a tight schedule, so I can ask her if she'd like to come in, but she can keep it brief. But it would be the
You
same
just
thing,
watch it, yeah.
it's the same thing she said, the
I
select.
just watched it the other day, yeah.
I'm trying to remember the date.
A bunch of them just posted to YouTube,
Oh.
and I watched like 2 or 3 meetings.
I'll clip her presentation only, so you don't have to watch the whole meeting,
Okay.
and I'll email it to everybody.
Oh, okay. Did everybody hear, Rich is gonna send all of us the, presentation that Laura Kelly gave to the select board on the fertilizer, fertilizer warrant request. And
Did we
I
have this last year?
No, that was
Did we get-
pesticides.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right. I knew we had seen her.
it was a little different, yeah.
Okay.
No,
And I have,
Roy, she wanted it last year, but the select board didn't put it on the warrant, so she just dropped it. For some reason, she didn't want to make it a petitioned article. So it was around last year, Roy, you're correct. And this year, select board said, well, let the town vote on it.
Okay, thank you.
and another, item that I have on my ticky list is the transfer fee. Is that, is there something in, as I say, I haven't looked at this that quick. Is there something in here on the transfer fee?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's a county proposal from the Assembly of Delegates.
Okay, so that's
their own deal.
okay, so it goes to the legislature
Yeah.
and
But we
then,
already did, but we did do a transfer fee last year.
yeah. So we're waiting for the legislature to.
Yeah. That's why the county wants to do, because we're not gonna get it, Provincetown's not gonna get it, and others that have been.
And Nantucket.
But they're looking to, just add to the pile to let people know that.
Okay,
I've been reading up on that. There's a lot of
yeah,
articles
a
lately.
lot of information on it, yeah. Okay, let me see, I'm just looking at the agenda under new business. You said I've mentioned, the only other thing I have under new business. I've mentioned this, we mentioned the zoning, the fertilizer, school budget, transfer fee, et cetera. I don't have anything else under new business other than the items that I've mentioned and that we've discussed. Does anybody else have anything under new business? Under old business, capital project committee update, and I guess I have 2 questions on that. One is regarding the generator issue, that happened, at the, shelter on last Monday. And I guess my other question is, and was discussed at our last meeting, the permit issue, associated with the, Nauset Regional. With the water, with the wastewater.
So the generators, I think they've identified the issue and they're adding it to the punch list of things that need to be fixed in the final closeout of the project. As far as the wastewater, we're moving along. We're anticipating going out to bid next couple weeks. And hopefully get responses back and be able to award a contract. In order to do that, we need final permits.
You're right.
Hopefully the worst case scenario is we're 3 days before the deadline. So I don't want to speak too much about, but I am going to work behind the scenes to cover our tails a little bit if we need to get beyond that.
The permit issue there's a timing issue, isn't there?
It is, yeah.
Is that the end of this month?
You have to have everything ready to go by June 30th.
Oh, June 30th, okay. Okay, I don't have any other update on either B, C, or D, the regionalization study, the agreement, or the Nauset Regional School budget itself. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to add under old business, under items B, C, or D? But I did not receive a town manager's report for this past select board meeting, so I'm assuming one was not issued. Eric has been very good about sending it to me when there is one. Is there anything that you need to add under the town manager's report?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay, is there anything else that anybody needs to discuss, ask, what have you, before we adjourn? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Patty, do I have a second?
Sure. Second.
Ron? All in favor of adjourning? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Thanks,
Roy,
everybody.
Steve, Kate, and Paul. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0. And I have, I'll get the right time this time, Kate. I have 6:15,
6:15.
6:15, 8, 0.
Look at that puppy.